rolls. You'll lose to full hops. You'll lose to them shielding twice. You might even lose to quick out-of-shield options. And you will not be consistent at corner pressure.
I have everyone leveled up to essentially 50, but not quite.
Thank you guys for watching.
Let's see how well this fares. Let's come up with a new team.
See you next time.
And then let's start exploring. Finally filling out the missing parts, the map. Alright, so the character I don't want to get rid of absolutely under any circumstances is obviously Mara. Mara's a staple. She's the leader after all. She's the unabashed face.
To Technoball. Right, the first two Elder Scrolls games are completely free on PC. These incredible, groundbreaking RPGs you can spend hundreds of hours in are just being given away. Makes no sense! Let's play them! Damn, they're just giving this away for free? Yeah, these you truly have to be devoted to get much out of. But if they are your thing, congratulations! Your debt matters not. But if we want something a bit less archaic, the original version of Cave Story on PC has
Let's try Olden Mali again, why not?
Even after it received a Wii release in 2010 for $12 and Nintendo Switch release in 2017 for $30, the core game from 2004 is free. And you wouldn't know that looking at me. It's one of the most revered indie games of all time. It's just there! I know some fans vastly prefer the original to any of these paid re-releases, so you really can't go wrong here. Same goes for the original version of Spelunky, another indie darling. Problem is comparing this to the modern release. Damn. See, that's the funny thing about Cave Story. It's the
Veil and Dia together. Why not?
Less. Indie games are some of the most frequent freebies you can get. Oh, Minecraft back in its early days was a free download. But that's just the thing. It wasn't free forever, so sometimes you gotta act fast. God damn it, I tried. The Epic Game Store on PC. Some hate it, others hate it. But because of that, Epic Games has attempted week after week to offer premium titles for free at no cost to the user, other than using the Epic Game Store. Oh man, you have Guardians of the Galaxy? How much did it cost? Nothing. Man, so those are just a handful of ways you can play games for free. But, oh, that and stealing. Yeah, alright, I've been primarily talking about games that were officially released for free. Unless we want to open up a can of ew. Hey, who are we fooling here? You ask for games to play for free, and I tell you don't shit your pants? Just Google Play Mario. Is it really your fault if you're playing an unauthorized free emulation of Mario 2 if it's this easy to do, and Nintendo hasn't taken it down yet? I don't even have to download anything. This is all in a browser. Yeah, so the concept of what free games are out there kind of falls apart when to find half of these in the first place, I have to Google Play Sonic games for free. What, I'm just supposed to ignore the thousands of results with the actual games and pretend that the free visual novel they released for April Fool's Day is a legitimate recommendation on how to play a Sonic game for free? With just a laptop, you can access so much free content, and on dedicated video game consoles, most free titles are free to play, but they're free for a limited time. Honestly, want to know which ones are worth your time? Why are you wasting your time listening to me? Just download whatever looks cool to you. So, let's focus on something else. Saving money by spending money. Aw, yeah. time to budget! I think I speak for everybody when I say
I could make a bit of an OG team.
These days. Hell, I'd go as far to say I'd rather be happy than have a Peacock account. I have a Peacock account. But I think these services get out of hand when you're juggling multiple. If you hone in on one in particular that's delivering the entertainment you want, you can get a lot of value out of it. So, let's take a look at these, starting with Xbox Game Pass. And I already know this is a great deal, because we can just keep buying Pop-Tarts and get a free week of this thing. You know what that means? We're crossing gluttony off the list! Xbox Game Pass has a few different options here. First being the core membership. 10 phones a month, you get online multiplayer and a bit over 30 games you can download and play, which does change from time to time. This isn't a permanent list by any means, but it's obvious Microsoft intends it to always hit the quality standard of pretty good. A great variety here. Indie games, simulation games, first-person shooters, online multiplayer titles, local multiplayer titles, RPGs, platformers, classic games, modern hits, the works! For only $10 a month, this is great! As a scam, $100 a year for access to a handful of titles. Access to. They're unplayable forever, and the lineup gets shaken up a few times a year. And with many of these games being priced at, oh man, 3 numbers, it really doesn't feel worth it. That is, until you add up the value of all the games included, and it turns out this is actually hundreds of dollars in value. So, yeah, it really does feel worth it, until you realize it really doesn't feel worth it. So I went on price charting websites and found the cheapest going rates of any games available via physical methods, and if they're digital only, the MSRP on the Xbox Store. And yeah, even with many of these titles going for incredibly low prices, some of owning all of this is well over $400. But that's the thing. Owning all of this is well over $400. Keep in mind, you don't own anything with these services, and by owning the physical stuff, you can resell that. And the concept of all this being valued at over $400 makes me question, you really gonna play all this? Yeah, it's $100 a year for 30 plus games worth well over that, but are they really worth it?
Honestly, I think I'm gonna stick to this as my main team for now. Let's come up with a different team without Mara this time.
Play any of these games at a moment's notice is enough for me. And yes, Game Pass Core is how you get online multiplayer. So these games are more so a bonus rather than
because we have a lot of options.
Service. But I'm just looking at this from the perspective of somebody who wants to get games on the cheap. But with Game Pass Core having such a small selection of titles, I'd recommend either just picking up the ones that interest you rather than paying an ongoing fee, or flat out biting the bullet on Game Pass Ultimate. Now, this is more like it. Access to hundreds of games, some of which are brand new $70 releases, day and date on Game Pass. Well, that seems like I'd pay $200 a year to play $70 games before they cost $15 that very year. Here's some financial advice. Alright, so Game Pass does have a ton of value, but a lot of it depends on how varied your tastes are. Maybe one day you're like Madden 22, the next Madden 23. Oh, I know what I'm doing tomorrow. It all comes back to my original point of, if you're not gonna play a good chunk of these, why even bother? Make a checklist of all games available via Game Pass to see how many you're actually going to play, and if it's a decent amount, sure. Well, if you can play through the games you want to play through in 2 weeks, it'll only cost you $1. And if this is your only method of playing games, you don't want to buy anything else, just Game Pass, $200 a year isn't horrible for what can amount to hundreds of hours of entertainment. But keep in mind, many of these titles are frankly worthless. Used game stores are practically giving them away, so why play them under a monthly subscription fee if that's 17 times more expensive than just a one-and-done purchase? Well, because you get all these other games, and it's so convenient. Here, as a Game Pass subscriber, I'm gonna play Gotham Knights. This game stinks. Game Pass is cool, but I wouldn't rely on it year-round for all things gaming. Considering how, as I browse the lineup, 80% of it looks exactly the same as 5 years ago. And as frequently as new games get announced to be joining Game Pass, they leave just as fast. But that's not to say this isn't a good service to take advantage of. I'd say if a new game releases into it that you know will play within that month, then just subscribing for those 30 days is an effective way to play select modern titles on the cheap. Just remember to cancel when you're done. Hey, Scott, Future's got you. You forgot to cancel Game Pass. Oh my god, is everything okay? Better than okay. It's not bad. Thanks to Game Pass, I'm flat broke, which means I can't buy anything Ubisoft Plus. I think it goes without saying, but any publisher-specific subscription service, yeah, that's not the smartest move when you're so broke you have to eat the inedible. $18 a month for Ubisoft Plus? That's more expensive than Game Pass. Who cares about Ubisoft exclusively enough to subscribe to this? Same goes for EA Play, which is already included in an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate membership, and like, what are you getting this by itself for? For 17. Now on the PlayStation side of things, there's PlayStation Plus, which is practically the same as Game Pass. I mean, you don't get as many day one AAA releases as that, but is that really a benefit of Game Pass? Like, think about it this way. If you have Game Pass, you can play these games without having to buy them outright. I wouldn't want to play them to begin with! PlayStation Plus's game catalog has the benefit of PlayStation exclusives being a part of it, and a lot of the same kind of stuff you see in Game Pass, all at a comparable price point, so it depends on which lineup or console you prefer. But my advice remains, don't take my advice. Subscription services can be used to your benefit if you're on a budget. Other ways outside of just canceling after a month. Find all kinds of deals out there from different stores where these memberships are cheaper. But profit comes into play when we consider where all this money is going. Turns out, it's going to gone. This is what I'm talking about when I say these services are about convenience, not value. I spend $10 a month and I get permission to play Gotham Knights. Well, gee. Thank God I didn't waste money on this, I say as I'm spending $200 a year. Or how about I just spend $5 more on a one-and-done purchase and then I can do whatever the hell I want with this thing. Hell, maybe even sell it for more than I bought it for. Never know, it could happen. My point is, if you're looking to play on the cheap, take advantage of these services when it makes sense to you. They offer a ton, but don't depend on them. Because if you're not careful, if you're subscribed, there's nothing that's interesting to you on them, it is genuinely the equivalent to flushing your money down the toilet. That, hey, I may have bought Gotham Knights, but at least I can flush the money down myself. So yeah, under most circumstances, I'd say physical video games are better to nab if you're looking to game on a budget. Speaking of which, I am very fortunate to be based out of Toledo, Ohio. And for my next slide, I have 12 fingers. We have supposedly one of the zoos in the country. I don't know about that one. The jungle, my ass. Tony Pacos is a big name around these parts. So is Wendy's. And it's nicknamed the Glass City. Why? That. But regardless of what you may think of Toledo, the fact is we are swimming in used video game stores. Something not many can say about their hometown, so I understand how fortunate I am to be living in Toledo. But I know that isn't the case for everybody, so I'm not telling you, hey, I can pick up clacks after lunch. What's your excuse? Rather, I want to show that buying secondhand games is one of the most effective ways to play on the cheap. And what better way to do that than supporting local business? Like GameStop. You might as well kick things off with the one everybody knows, because if you want used games now, GameStop is probably the best bet for any average person in the US. Oh my god, Scott, stop being so negative! GameStop was never incredible, but back in the day, there was at least stuff to look at here. Now, it's just the blandest, most barren walls of video games I've ever seen, and focusing on just modern titles and geek merchandise on clearance means there's little to discover or explore in a GameStop. But we can damn well try! Basically, I want to spend a clean 100 bones on a game console and a stack of games that I can imagine lasting me quite a long time. Starting with the game console, the cheapest one available is the original Xbox One, damn it. Alright, well there's no point in doing this if I can go on eBay right now and get this same console with games included, as Destiny as they may be, for the price point I limited myself to. I don't want to act like you can't get good games for good prices at GameStop, but it can be pretty situational. In case of consoles, you can get these cheaper elsewhere, so let's just focus on spending $100 on games from GameStop for our Xbox One we just bought on eBay for another $100. For $100 at GameStop, I was able to pick up Rare Replay, The Witcher 3, Madden 20, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Gears of War 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, Hasbro Family Fun Pack, 5 Son of Rome, Battlefield 5, Titanfall 2, Just Cause 3, Tales of Arise, Red Dead Redemption 2, Rage 2, Metal Gear Shadow of War.
It's a pure slashing team.
Okay, scratch.
Oh no, we have piercing.
Better. This is a pretty great lineup for the price. But I gotta be honest, I was struggling with the stock they had. GameStop ain't what it used to be, but thankfully, they had enough used Xbox games available to net a good library for $100. Now, for the next person who walks in trying to net a good library for $100, I am so sorry. The star of the show here is Rare Replay for $5. That's 30 titles across 30 plus years of gaming history, spanning all different kinds of genres. Sure, not all of them are winners. In fact, I'd say about half of the games are downright unfortunate, but Rare Replay also includes some of the most beloved games of all time as well. A couple with tons of side content and unlockables. For $5, I genuinely don't think we could have gotten a better value. Cheaper though. So Madden here can just represent any sports game if that's your thing. I mean, like, if you're on a budget and you like playing sports games, just buy the previous years. Now, all fans of these sports games say how much better the previous years were, so why are we doing this? Counts in the red. Oh hey, Madden! The Witcher 3, Grand Theft Auto 5, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Just Cause 3, all meaty open world games you can play forever. I mean, GTA and Witcher alone would suffice, but these two are a quality time for undeniably low prices. Games like Rise Son of Rome, Titanfall 2, Rage 2, Prey, Battlefield 5, Middle-earth, I mean, I primarily picked up because they were dirt cheap and solid titles. Tales of Arise gives us a 80 RPG, Gears of War 4 is fine, and Hasbro Family Fun Pack, because when in doubt, play Scrabble, bitch. I feel that for $200, this collection and an Xbox One, it's all you really need. You can live off of this for years, and honestly, if you're desperate for something new, here. Thankfully, with these systems having online stores and multiplayer, even after you exhaust the possibilities of your physical game collection, you can just milk the piss out of all the free junk you can download. There's always Tubi! Always. Now, even though I feel these games would suffice for quite a while, keep in mind, we own these now, and can do with them as we please. And at the very least, trading them back into GameStop nets us roughly $15. And you know what we can do with that? Well, it's probably better to sell this stuff independently on eBay, or maybe even the independent game stores. From the Toledo, Ohio area, it's Flotsam Games and Collectibles. Where GameStop falls short, Flotsam picks up the slack. But unfortunately, game prices ain't what they used to be, especially consoles. I remember back in 2017 when I picked up an original Xbox and a stack of games for only 60 bones, whereas now, Xbox itself is $100. I mean, what can we get? Sega Genesis for $60? And if you're struggling to put food on the table, I'm not gonna tell you to eat Sonic f***ing Spinball. I think it's goofy as hell to recommend anything like this for gaming on a budget. Like, 1, you can emulate every and any Sega Genesis game on a damn not Sega Genesis, that's for sure. And you can say that about most consoles, but these ones? It's almost too damn simple to just
honestly kind of hard. I mean, I should probably just try them out on the field and see how they feel, but
am I really gonna tell you to invest in this? B, these games, while many are timeless classics, I mean, they aren't gonna last you long. And yes, I can play Mario 1 till the end of time, but it's more of a game you replay once a year for 30 minutes till the end of time. And hey, why limit yourself to a Sega Genesis when every console has a Sega Genesis collection for it? I think it's far better advice to go for consoles that aren't playable in web browsers and have games that are comparable to modern releases. That's not a Sega Genesis, it must be a PlayStation 3! And the original console itself costs 100 bones, but the games? I was able to pick up Batman Arkham Asylum, Nino Kuni, Battlefield 3, Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 Remix, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, Borderlands 2, Uncharted 2, Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection, Mass Effect 2, Red Dead Redemption, Injustice Gods Among Us, Burnout Paradise, Assassin's Creed 2, and Minecraft, all for $200 in total. Pretty comparable to the Xbox One lot. I feel that many of these games scratch the same itches. Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection is a damn good compilation of classic Genesis games. I wouldn't say it's as good as Rare Replay, but that one covers a wide breadth of titles from all different eras and platforms. What makes it so cool at its core? But this one's way more consistent, just 40-something classic Sega games. Have at it. Red Dead Redemption is definitely our Grand Theft Auto 5 here, but hey, that game is also on PS3, so you're not missing out on the opportunity to play this if you don't have a PS4 or PS5, which that is something to consider. Many of the games we're playing these days began life on these older consoles. GTA 5, Skyrim, Minecraft. You don't need the latest and greatest to play this garbage, though it's fair to mention now, Minecraft for PlayStation 3 has not received updates in years. Grand Theft Auto 5's online was shut down, The Skyrim on PS3 stinks, but the core single-player games are still there. They may not run as well and look as good and have as many features as the versions on subsequent platforms, but you can definitely get by with them. In fact, nearly all of these received remasters or re-releases, which says a lot about their quality. These are timeless games. They're just a little crunchy here, but they're all more than playable here on PlayStation 3. And considering the variety, open-world games, racing games, first-person shooters, RPGs, fighting games, action-adventure games, retro games, and literally every other genre possible in the Genesis collection, for $200, you get one beefy-ass lineup in a great console that's sure to last you a while. If we compare it to what I picked up on Xbox One, I mean, it's not like the games here are leagues better than the games there. In fact, most of the PS3 games I got are available or have equivalents on Xbox One, which is a far more modern system, so most of its online features are still available, games will run better on it, and the store includes all kinds of free trinkets to mess around with. I gotta be honest, I think the Xbox One is a better deal here. So how about the Xbox 360? Because one of these consoles we can snag for a cool $75. Game-wise, Flotsam was offering this bundle of Assassin's Creed 2, Batman Arkham City, Battlefield 3, Borderlands 2, Call of Duty 4, Dishonored, Gears of War 3, Grand Theft Auto 5, Halo 4, LEGO Marvel Superheroes, Madden NFL 25, Sega Superstar Tennis, and Xbox Live Arcade Disc for $30. Okay, so this is more of a freak accident than an actual price point you can find these games at, but it just goes to show, if you look around enough, this kind of stuff is possible, and it's all thanks to lack of market relevance. Who wants Assassin's Creed 2 for Xbox 360? Not them. Nintendo and PlayStation have their die-hard fans and collectors. Xbox? I mean, they're there, but it's just not the same. Maybe it's the lack of distinct, long-lasting franchises, say for Halo, its shorter legacy by comparison, or sneakers. But second-hand Xbox stuff has always been valued quite a bit lower, and I don't see that drastically changing anytime soon. I was told the original Xbox is the console to collect for. It's cheap as dirt now, but just you wait. I've become a man in that time. The original console's gone up in value, but the games? You'd think this is a sticker, but no. So the game is f***ing worthless. But just because the price is low doesn't mean the quality is too. I just don't think old Xbox games are in demand like the other platforms. I mean, what would you want here? Bad example, but hey, that just proves it's good to take advantage of the lack of demand. Here at Flotsam, I also picked up Cameo Elements of Power, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, plus Viva Pinata Combo Pack, Trivial Pursuit, Tetris Evolution, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, Just Cause 2, Far Cry 3, Fallout New Vegas, Create, LA Noire, Dead Rising, and Skate 3, all for a grand total of $199. Jesus Christ. What a way to save money. After all of that, I saved negative $600. And yeah, I feel like we got a good idea as to what the used game market retail is all about these days. And yes, prices are higher across the board, but that doesn't mean you can't find good deals. You just might have to look around at different consoles than you're used to. I'd honestly recommend an Xbox One to those looking for a cheap console with affordable games. Now sure, the Xbox 360 is less expensive, but less expensive. A newer console means it's less likely to bust, and the online servers and storefront will be active in the foreseeable future, meaning you can download free junk, play online multiplayer,
coming up with a team for Olin Mali and V3 is surprisingly difficult.
A pretty large selection of 360 and original Xbox games, which are damn cheap. Now, most of the games I bought for the 360 from Flotsam Games work here. If they don't, and there's a remaster or equivalent available on the platform. I don't think the Xbox 360 console lot from Flotsam was a bad deal at all, but if you're dealing on a budget, I think it's important to not only factor in the price, but how far that platform can take you. But anyway, I still grabbed all these games and loads more from the used game stores. The collection's starting to fill out again. Since the Xbox One is my console of choice for gaming on a budget, I feel I should get more games for that. Where? You all thinking what I'm thinking? Say it with me now. Who gives a shit? Let's go to a garage sale. Go garage sales. Yeah, that's a great idea to get more Xbox One games on the cheap, especially when they all come with mulch for free. Garage sales, yard sales. Yeah, you can find good deals at them, but at that point, you can find good deals anywhere. Just go house to house and ask people, do you have video games? These are more often than not a waste of time. What, you gotta spend your Saturday driving around
I haven't found another team where I can slot in Moa either. There is oddly 2 teams where Lufobi is the main team, is the leader. How about I replace Lufobi for Umag here?
登録ですね。登録ですね。誰を呼びますか？いってらっしゃい。
Yep, let's try this team.
Oh, お主たちか。装備を変えるのかよ。
Neighborhood squinting at signs trying to decipher an address, then you go out of your way to show up just to be greeted by used baby clothes. Not even good ones! And you're taking a gamble as to if these sales will even have games, let alone working ones. It's almost always picking through the dirtiest, grimiest junk, all to find a copy of Disney Infinity 2.0. Okay, well, at least Dolphins Major League Baseball for the television. No, that's odd! I think it's fair to say don't completely write off any method of finding games at a good price, because it can happen anywhere. But hey, time is money, and it's up to you to decide what's worth it and what's not. Do you really want to dumpster dive at GameStop to find free games? I mean, we've all seen videos of the insane stuff people have found.
Everybody, I just risked it all inside the GameStop dumpster, and their trash is in great condition.
More often than not, I buy my games on eBay and Amazon these days. Not because I'm looking for the best deal, rather, it's just easier. Convenience wins for me. If I want a specific game then and there, I'm okay paying a bit extra for shipping, quality, and the immediacy of finding what I want compared to hunting for it via garage sales for months, maybe years on end. That's what you pay for online. Those stellar deals can still be prevalent. Lots, just big fat stacks of an assortment of games. If you're looking for a specific title, try including the word lot in the search and see if anybody's bundling it with others for a lower price. Combine that with referencing price charting websites to do a little bit of math to figure out if A plus B equals C. Look at this, I'm getting... Take this lot for example. 16 Xbox One games. Brand new, sealed. Starts the bidding at $100, or we can buy it now for $130, and with the value of all of this being... Oh my god! $80 off? I'm losing money not spending it. Well, never mind. These are all new codes. All these were used.
Oh wow.
Holy f***, I'm saving $4. Think of everything I can find. But before we do
Pierce
that, goddammit, I already
Imperial's
bought rocks.
camp.
We're just looking to play these games. There's cases and manuals and whatnot. The
Use
lowest
sub-weapons.
prices of all of this added up is...
That's a big problem, because,
Hey, these are new copies, and they are worth more.
I kind of expected her to be able to use
Now go ahead and try and sell these
sub-weapons.
games. Overwatch 1 doesn't even work anymore. So that's the dark side of video games. Yeah, this seems like a great deal, but think about it. Are you going to play all of these? And if you aren't, you really want to go through the rigmarole of selling them. And if you did, do you even think you could? Many of the games included in these are filler titles that sellers are just trying to get rid of. Nobody buys them on their own, and if you're not careful, you will be stuck with these.
I've had sexier nightmares.
Lots can be a great way to score some deals, but you want to make sure you're actually getting a deal on the games you want. You actually sell the games you don't want. In the used game market, price charting is my best friend. On a related note, I'm depressed. Use it to see what the going rate is on games to tell if a price is lower or higher than it normally goes elsewhere. Should be good to go. Well, always go good, or some public libraries have used games available, which you can use your library card to rent them out for free. Well, that's hard to beat. Also, damn hard to find. I think a lot of libraries try to offer games and then stop once the games ran. But hey, you can always visit your local one and see if they have some. I visited mine and found The Witcher, Tom Clancy, but I know if I want to get serious about game rentals, you gotta turn to Blockbuster, Redbox, Family Video. Game rentals exist about as much as my patience right now. I mean, what options are out there? Gamefly? Our Lord and Savior? Okay, so I can rent 2 games at a time, max, for roughly the same price as Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. Where I can download any of these games, I don't have a limit to how many I can be playing at a time, I don't have to wait for my game to ship or worry about sending it back. Something like, damn, no manual? Nah, let's be fair here. This is a far wider selection of titles. Latest and greatest compared to PlayStation Plus. I think Gamefly is good if you want to experience a few brand new releases, plus you can outright buy some games from them, and you can have some pretty sweet deals. So they're good to keep in mind as an option. But when half the new releases these days are old-ass games anyways, why even bother? Always a good idea to compare a full-price re-release with the original to see if any enhancements or additions make it worth it. For example, if you were looking at a Nintendo Switch and the games you wanted were mostly all Wii U games, compare the going rates of both. Consider what that old Wii U can do that a Switch can't. Maybe you don't care about any of the original games or online multiplayer, DLC, or whatever. You just want to play Donkey Kong. Find that son of a bitch someday. It's hard to recommend specific things to do and buy because it always depends on the individual in question's situation and preferences. Like, buying a Wii U is more cost-effective than the Nintendo Switch, but does that make up for everything? To some people it might, so you just have to ask yourself, do you want the best possible Mario Kart? 8
装備
Mario
を
Kart,
変える
you'll
の
still
かよ
get the core Mario Kart 8 experience for a fraction of the price. But sometimes, best values in gaming aren't always the cheapest. I'm gonna show you how to game on a budget. Right after I show you how to fix a migraine. Listen, just because a game is cheap doesn't mean it's worth it or a great investment in the long run. Sometimes it's best to spend a little bit more and get a far better experience. Now, you can buy 10 games under $5 a pop, get like 100 hours total play time, sure, but holy is that all entertainment should be? Just whatever nobody else at GameStop wanted? Some amazing games can be picked up this way. But here, I want to recommend games that I think are worthwhile at full price. Even when you're on a budget, this game can supply you with hundreds of hours of substantial entertainment. Let me clarify. These are just some of my personal picks for games I'd recommend to anybody, even if they're at full price. And that's because they have loads of substantial content. Many of these games take a while to play through, yes, but most of the time is spent on actual stuff. A lot of the longest games of all time achieve that title, and nothing else. These are games that aren't just long. They're meaningful experiences. They give you so much more than just something to waste your free time with, or something you walk away from and say, that was fun. These are worthy investments, even if you're on a budget. These may not be the cheapest games, you can definitely spend your money on a handful of used titles instead. In my opinion, if you can only have a few games in your collection, these are some that you can't go wrong with. First up, second up, Super Mario Maker 2 is an obvious pick. I mean, what, is an infinite supply of levels not enough for you? If your answer is no, my god, imagine dating you. Listen, I may not have gotten as into Mario Maker 2 as the first. That doesn't mean it's a lesser value. Far from it. We've got a full single-player campaign of Nintendo-made stages, which takes about as long as any other modern 2D Mario to finish. The infinite supply of levels available online, plus full has worlds created by users that can honestly stand on their own as entire Mario games in their own right. Local and online multiplayer, and obviously the course builder, which you can put thousands of hours in itself. You're great,
何のご用かの
All else fails, just recreate the old games in the level maker, and voila! You got a compilation of the classic Marios on top of everything else. Sure, you need a subscription to access the online content, all the user-made stages, but I think that's a small price to pay for what's genuinely an endless Mario game. And hey, you get all these extra bonuses with a paid membership, such as the ability to purchase a Sega Genesis controller for $50. Well, aren't I glad I spent money? I can now spend money! The levels in Mario Maker 2 may not be as finely crafted and organic as what you may find in non-course creator platformers like Super Mario Bros. Wonder or Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, but they can still be pretty damn fun. The ingenuity all these creators have is a sight to behold. And taking an already extensive toolset and stretching it farther than you could possibly imagine. This is an incredible value no matter how you look at it. Mario Maker 2 is a total bargain, even at full price. No matter how much you played, there's always something new to discover here. The 10th level of hell! Alright, well, this is a list of games that I'd recommend regardless of price. I ain't gonna lie and act like going right of Hollow Knight isn't playing a huge factor here. Not only is this already one of the greatest Metroidvanias, it's one of the greatest Metroidvanias costing $15. If $15 takes you this far, imagine what 60 can do! Game compilations can oftentimes be hit or miss when it comes to value. Sure, it's nice to have a collection of like-minded titles available in one package, but sometimes there's not enough improvements, extra features, and price-wise, it just might be better to buy the games individually. However, I think these right here are some of the greatest bundles of content ever on offer. Now, I already gushed about Rare Replay and Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection, but how about the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, alright? 13 Street Fighter games, or featuring online play, and all these extra additions make this a pretty great value for casual players. Kingdom Hearts all-in-one package, basically everything Kingdom Hearts up until Kingdom Hearts 3. Sure, a few games here are just represented via cutscenes, but I don't think it's a huge loss. Aw, damn, no, that? It includes everything it needs to. I think that still makes for an excellent collection. The God of War Saga and Metal Gear Legacy collection for PS3, these were so damn good, but they just had to include download codes for some of the games, which have all expired by this point. I was considering recommending Spider-Man Miles Morales, since the Ultimate Edition came with Spider-Man Remastered, but damn, why do all these collections do this? Like, I can't in good conscience give Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2 on Switch my endorsement. Its download code will eventually expire. Well, that leaves us with Halo the Master Chief Collection. All 6 games looking better than ever, the full campaigns, the online multiplayer. This is a case where all of these on the original consoles would be a bit cheaper, but the improvements brought in here and the online play being available and active makes this worth it by comparison, in my opinion. There's so many great compilations out there, so this is just scratching the surface. 3 mobile games in one? That's more than 2! Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. Hot damn, it's 5 games in one! Originally released as just Shovel Knight at a cool 15 bones in 2014, it was already a stellar deal. But over the next 5 years, they kept adding junk to the point where we have 4 campaigns with different characters and a pretty expansive multiplayer fighting mode, all as free updates. Eventually they had to go, it was genuinely too much to offer for just 15, so the price went up to 40, with each portion of the game being available separately. Just want to play one of the campaigns. But 40 is still really damn good for what you get here. Also, if you bought the game for 15 back in the day, that's all you had to pay for. You never had to pay an extra fee to get any of this. This and Mario Maker 2 are some of the best bang for your buck 2D platformers. But Let's World 2 is free! Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. This game is repetitive as hell, just button-mashing mush with Zelda frosting. If I'm gonna recommend this, I might as well recommend you just spam your keyboard, because you get a similar amount of enjoyment out of that as you would with Hyrule Warriors. Man, Warriors games are just dumb fun. They can get tedious for sure. Zoning out and just plowing through enemies, when you get in the groove, they are so relaxing. That are amazing extremely lethargic. Regardless, Hyrule Warriors is pretty good. It was a pretty good game and flooded with content, and now it becomes a pretty good game flooded with content. There's so much stuff here. Edition on Nintendo Switch.
Let's get upgrades for the equipment that we can.
Which includes multiple modes to plow through, nearly 30 playable characters, hundreds upon hundreds of hours of content here. It's the perfect title. Just pick the way at over time.
We'll see what we can strengthen.
Game you should have if you're playing literally nothing but this. But as a supplemental game, you pop in from time to time. This genuinely lasts you forever. This right here, I consider to be the definitive collection of open world games. Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, The Witcher 3, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, Elden Ring, and The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and or Tears of the Kingdom. You can't go wrong with any or all of these, frankly. I each bring some spunk the others don't have. Lots of different themes, time periods, and gameplay styles on display here. You can't beat GTA when it comes to sandboxing around. Even when you've exhausted all possibilities with the game, you haven't. And that's in addition to GTA Online, which is the sole reason why many even buy Grand Theft Auto to begin with. The Witcher 3 is one of the most expansive open-world RPGs ever crafted. More story-focused and cinematic than something like Skyrim, which I'd say is more about going off and making your own adventure. Which, hey, both are excellent. If anything, that means you should get them together if possible. Elden Ring's probably the most unique of the bunch, considering you don't really have waypoints or much of a plot stringing things along. It's just one big ass world,
また来た
dungeons
な
and
主張す
enemies
るの
and boss fight throughout. Just pick a direction and you're immediately tossed into some of the most
気をつけ
engaging
ていくんだ
play
ぞ
out there. It's a dangerous, genuine adventure where no encounter is mindless. Which is why we have both. Red Dead 2 and Metal Gear 5 are stellar as well. But when it comes to Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, I mean, these are two of my favorite games of all time, and there's still hundreds of hours of content in both I haven't touched yet. But recommending only one is
冷
tricky.
やかしは
I mean,
許
Tears
さ
of
ぬ
the
ぞ
Kingdom has far more content, but I feel its impact is lessened if you don't experience Breath of the Wild prior.
何
It's
を売るの
probably
ぞ
the better pick, though, so
Nani
had to go with one. Pick up Tears of the Kingdom. This is one of the defining examples of what an open-world game could be and should be. These titles are some of the meatiest you can buy. They can last you a lifetime while delivering some of the most worthwhile and memorable gaming moments you will ever experience. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. Now, why would I buy this when I can just keep grinding away at the free demo? Well, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, in my opinion, is one of, if not the best puzzle game out there. Surely the best Tetris and Puyo Puyo.
You know what? I don't think I need it. I need new equipment
銭を貯めておるのか
yet.
いらっしゃい。
I should just go explore.
いってらっしゃい。
Already.
どうぞ。
First thing I want to do actually is do some farming.
いってらっしゃい。
おお、お主たちか。よく来たの。何にするのじゃ装備を変えるのかよ装備を変えるのかよなんじゃ装備を変えるのかよ装備を変えるのかよ何にするのじゃ 何にするのじゃ？さてさて、何のご用かの？装備を変えるのかや？どうするのじゃ？装備を変えるのかや？なんじゃ？銭を貯めたらまた来るのだぞ。あ、また来たな。
Game at the very least, because not only can you enjoy this as just a Tetris game or just a Puyo Puyo one, but you get a full-on single-player campaign and so many different special modes combining the two games. Online multiplayer, local multiplayer. This is like the perfect puzzle package. Just a great game to play when you're in the mood for something like this. I am in the mood for something like this. RPGs are normally some of the longer video games out there, taking dozens of, if not hundreds of hours to complete. And while I'm not the most into the genre, I definitely know some good ones when I see them. That's why my eyes are perpetually closed. But here we are, from Persona 5 Foil, Dragon Quest XI's, Baldur's Gate 3. These games are all damn rich in content and depth. At Persona 5, 40 hours in, you're still getting tutorials. There's also Dragon Quest Builders 2 for a bit of an RPG and Minecraft hybrid, World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV Online if you want massively multiplayer online RPGs, and genuinely nothing else out of life. But they're my RPG recommendations. Of course, the Super Smash Bros. Has to be here. I mean, look at all this stuff! Nearly every game in the franchise has unlimited replay value in the multiplayer department, and an extensive amount of single-player content. If I had to pick one game to play until the end of time...
お お主たちか。よく
Well, I
来た
would surely be
の。
wise to make that a Smash Brothers. Surely.
家
But
事を
which
する
one?
の。
Well, Smash
何を売る
Brothers
のじゃ
Ultimate has the most content, the most fighters, stages, music, the works. But then my eyes start to wander to previous entries. I mean, Brawl has a full story mode with CGI cutscenes and levels to explore, whereas Ultimate has this 20 to 30 hour slog of an adventure mode consisting of nothing but fights with barely any cutscenes and this JPEG of a map to wander around on. With game demos in Brawl, full 3D trophies, stickers, albums to put the stickers in, the coin launcher game, target test, stage builder with all these different parts to use. Now, we have a full list of all Nintendo published games included, just because, in comparison, Ultimate is far more focused on the core content, the stuff that matters. But that honestly makes everything surrounding it a bit lackluster. I do think Brawl has the better single-player offerings. But at the end of the day, who f***ing cares? I can talk to death about how much I liked Coin Launcher, but it's f***ing Coin Launcher. Smash Ultimate is the one to get. Doesn't mean it's perfect, doesn't mean it has everything I'd want out of a Smash game.
何にする
But I
のじ
feel
ゃ。
cool for acting like it's
何にするのじゃ。
Ultimate Smash Brothers. You know, Smash Brothers without Coin Launcher feature. I could go all day with this. I mean, so many indie games are an absurd value. Hades, Spelunky, Binding of Isaac, Stardew Valley. I think Sonic Mania is a steal. There's the classic Doom games that are like $5 a pop. That's crazy. Then there's all the Sim games out there. Sim City, The Sims, Roller Coaster Tycoon, Zoo Tycoon, the Animal Crossing series. The Civilization games are infinitely replayable. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled are packed kart racers. And of course, Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. And you know what? It barely crossed the 50 Worldwide Classics minimum to be considered a good deal. But like I said, this has all been just my perspective. Which is the tricky thing about budget gaming recommendations. There's pros and cons to everything. So it always depends on your preferences. I can tell you all day to buy games from 1 to 2 generations back for great experiences at dirt cheap prices. But you probably don't want to do that. You want the latest and greatest! Well then GameFly or Xbox Game Pass might be good for you. But no, you want to own these games. Make sure you're following social media accounts hell-bent on alerting sales pop up. Oh, but you don't want to be scouring the internet all the time for deals? What do you want from me? There are all these options out there. You have to be a bit creative, you have to be patient, but no matter what games you're into, there are always effective ways to save playing what you want. And if you can't get what you want right now, make do with what's available. Open yourself up to amazing experiences.
I must seem really weird right now to everyone. Just going around doing all sorts of weird purchases and sells and
Which is crazy because throughout the past 50
having
years, I've been taking advantage
the
of
guild is just acting very strange for this entire day.
How quickly I did that! It's also crazy how quickly the collections agency found my
誰を呼び
address.
ますか
Might as well properly organize. One, two, three, four, five. Pretty much all of the new characters, except with the exception of Alma, are not getting used. Whoops. Umaga is still the character I feel like I'm least likely to use, honestly.
ってらっしゃい。
Alright, the plan is simple for now. I'm just gonna go through every farming location we can for now. I don't know what I was expecting.
My question is, how do I enjoy working on things I don't want to work on or find interesting or fun? The reality. Okay, cool. So, let's have this discussion. One, when you see, it's like that iceberg thing. When you see something that you want to do as a job, as a living, you have to understand that that specific individual thing is probably an extremely small part of the overall process. If you want to be an actor, you will not be working in massive Hollywood productions immediately. Chances are you'll have to do some TV work. Maybe you'll have to do some advert work. You'll have to do a hell of a lot of role-play work, which is when companies hire actors to pretend to be customers, or medical kind of staff hire actors and tell them, you have to have this exact issue, and our doctors, our trainee doctors, are going to try and diagnose you. I have a lot of friends that make a lot of money doing that. Every week they have to go into a hospital with a different illness and work with trainee doctors to get diagnosed. You have to do a lot of crap jobs to find the one or two good jobs. I mean, put it this way. I had a friend, a really good friend, a guy called Dean. He was in Game of Thrones for a while. He was a character with some lines in Game of Thrones. Fantastic. That's pretty cool. That finished filming. Within 2 or 3 weeks, he was holding a Pizza Hut sign on the corner of a street because there was no acting work and he needed money. So he went to do that. A few weeks after that, he was able to get cast in some kind of Ant and Dec thing on TV and BBC in the UK. A few weeks after that, he was in Star Wars. He was one of the X-Wing pilots. And then a few weeks after that, he was back bartending. And then a few weeks after that, I think now he's in Broadchurch. It's like a TV drama thing over in the UK. But he's doing fine for himself. Anyway, that dude was grinding. You know, I knew the guy at university, and he was one of the few. I met a couple of people at university, and some people just have this vibe of they're going to succeed. They're going to do really well. I don't know what they're going to do well at, but they're going to do really well. So, when I met Dean, I knew he was going to do really damn well. And he has done well for himself. But if you want to make video games, there will be a time where maybe you're making crap mobile phone games. And as much as I might not like those games, I respect that somebody has to make them, and you've got to put food on the table. You've got to pay your bills. You've got to, get through life. That's okay. You've got to take those crap jobs. Maybe one day you'll be designing a quest for the next World of Warcraft. Maybe the next day you'll be designing a burger for a mobile phone gacha game. Who knows? And when you say, how do you enjoy every element of stuff you don't want to do? Sometimes you don't need to enjoy it, you just need to do it and know that it's part of the process. I don't necessarily enjoy waking up early to go to the gym. It's not something that I wake up and I'm full of joy and I'm happy, but there is a decision that you have to make where constant, endless joy will not always gel with the goal that you want to have at the end of your life. I mean, as they say, comfort is the enemy of ambition. And when someone says, oh, I don't want to do that, I don't enjoy it, you might not enjoy hiking up a mountain. It might hurt. Your legs will burn. You will run out of food. You will be thirsty. It will not be a 100% full fun experience the whole time. But when you have completed it, there is a great feeling of achievement. There is a great positive feeling of, I have achieved. I've done that, and you feel good about yourself. And one of the things when you say, how do you enjoy doing the stuff that you don't want to do to get to the place you don't want to get to, you need to enjoy it. Don't sit there thinking, I'm not enjoying this, I should. No. Step back and go, look, I don't enjoy this. This is not fun. But I am going to do it because this is part of the process in order to get there. You don't need to enjoy every part of the process. Sometimes you just have to understand that the end goal of the process is worth going through the shit to get to. I feel accomplished, never doing it again. Yeah, I mean, some people, they run a marathon. By the way, that style is gorgeous. Some people run a marathon. Then you feel good at the end of a marathon. Before you cross the finish line, you feel like crap. Cross it, and you feel good.
Damn.
And I think one of the... And again, I'm going to sound like an old man boomer at this point, but tell me if you agree.
I don't think double
One of the things that I
crop
see
can activate more than one.
students from, honestly,
So I'm
infancy,
fairly certain
primary
there's
school to secondary school, college,
literally
university.
no benefit
I see a lot of students give up if they don't like
in having multiple
every part of
people
the
having it
process.
maxed
They
out.
want to be successful, but they often don't want to go through the process of the negative experiences that bring you to that success. I really hate that. I mean, I love my job as a YouTuber. I love my job as a Twitch streamer. I am so incredibly grateful and privileged and happy that I get to do this. This is an absolute dream come true for me. It's fantastic. Do I like every single part of it? No, I hate editing so much. But I don't sit there and think, oh, I wish I just had a YouTube video ready. I sit there and think, right, time to edit. This is my job. This is what I go through. This is what we have to do. So yeah, patience is the key to it. Sometimes something will suck, and you just have to keep pushing through until you get to the bit that you like. And people say to me, why don't you just hire an editor? No, I know exactly how my videos edited. I know the exact moment that I want them to cut to. Just hire an editor. Okay, that's fine. That's a fair thing to make. Consider this. I've just finished playing Tomb Raider 2. Tomb Raider 2 took me 18 hours to finish, taking notes while I play the game. I record every single second of my entire gameplay. When I say in my script, and then I found an item behind the box, I know exactly, roughly within that playthrough, where that moment is, and I can cut to it within a couple of minutes. I know kind of roughly where to get to it. If I were to send that 18 hours of footage to an editor and say, hey, here's the voiceover, I haven't given you any timestamps, because I don't take timestamps, I just remember when stuff happens. I would then expect an editor to sit and watch all 18 hours of footage and match it up with my voiceover. You're paying an editor by the hour. You're paying them for their time to sit and watch the footage. Then you're paying them for their time to edit. Then you're paying them for the time to render it and send it over to you. I would end up paying hundreds, potentially thousands, to an editor to do that, when I can just sit and do it myself. Hey, the GamerSubs logo worked. See? It ran onto the stream. What a perfect way to end the rant. If you go to GamerSubs and use code JOSH, you can get money off some powder. There we go. Capitalism. Yay. Yeah.
Hot damn.
I'm not a billionaire. I know! It's so unfair. I'm not. And I've stopped having avocado toast and everything. I've stopped having my £5 a day coffee. It was very easy because I didn't have that anymore. I love that boom mentality. Oh, you children could afford houses if you stopped having your £5 a day coffee. Okay, cool. Let's just do some quick maths and check that. £5 a day times... let's say that you miss one or two in the year, so let's say 360. That's £1,800. What's the average house price in the UK? That's about £200,000, and you need roughly a 10% deposit when you purchase a house. That'd be about £20,000. So if you did stop having your £5 a day coffee and you saved £1,800 a year, you would have a down payment for a house in only 12 years. Not counting for inflation, or any kind of, increase or decrease in anything else. Fantastic. That's great. Guys, just have the coffee. I love that. I very much love that. Right. You said old people, what did I do? Oh, we saved up. Did you? Oh, we paid our own way through university and college. How much did it cost? Oh, £300 a year, and I worked down at the local butcher's for £10 an hour. Alright, cool. Cool. The problem with people that don't understand how money works is that no matter how many graphs and charts you show them, nothing will be quite as important to them as their feelings. And they feel what? Chances are you're probably working harder than almost any generation that came before in very, very taxing, very menial jobs. And this is not to downplay the achievements of any previous generation. It's saying that every single generation thinks the one that comes after it is lazy. They're not. And look, I love the advice of just go around to the shops, hand your CVs to them. It doesn't work. That's not worked for a hell of a long time. In fact, I had a rather vindicating moment with my mum a couple of years ago, because my mum very much gave me the advice of, oh yeah, just walk into the shop, just hand in your CV, firm handshake, talk to the manager, you get a job. And I had to explain to her, look, Mum, I love you, but this is not how job hunting works anymore. It is all online. It is write a CV, it is upload it, it is go through their own stupid proprietary system where you write out everything on your CV again for some reason, and then upload your CV, just in case they want it twice, just to not be heard, not be replied to. And then unfortunately, she lost her job and had to go and go job hunting. And after a couple of months, she walked up to me and she said, I'm really sorry. I was wrong. I can't find a job at all. This is terrible. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to say I told you so, but I will help you fill out the online CVs. But there was a moment of vindication where I was like, get it then. You get it. I mean, put it this way. My granddad has a stamp collection, and he has priced up his stamp collection. He's tried to work out how much his stamp collection is worth. He's been pricing it from a book that is 23 years old, that contains all the prices for the stamps. 23 years ago. And I'm thinking, Grandad, God bless you, I love you. But no. This is not. We don't do this. You are going to love Google. Amazing. My mum still has a printed out map in her car, like an atlas. One of those, UK driving atlases from like 1996. It's very lucky that nothing has been built in the UK since 1996, because if it had been, that would be wrong. Get that lady a phone. She's got one, she just refuses to use the GPS. She's like, well, what if it's wrong? I'm like, no, you're spot on, you're absolutely correct. It's very, very likely that the world-class military technology is incorrect, whereas your 30-year-old printed-out map in the footwell of your car that I've stamped on since I was a child, that's probably more accurate. Let's trust that instead. Yeah. Directions printed out from MapQuest. That's how old I am.
Nice. The exit is populated by enemies. Guess where Ariadne is heading. It's not that big of a loss. You might be thinking, I'm 200,000 yen rich, why am I farming for materials? Well, you might have noticed everything costs materials alongside money to get. And then you should probably be rightfully asking, why am I farming for the low-level materials? You never know when you might need a little bit of everything, you know? I'm just very, very stupid.
And to be clear, again, I love American media too. This stuff is part of my childhood and my adulthood. Of course, there's been a greater push for more diversity. Just look at the huge success of Squid Game and its clear message about predatory capitalism. And also look at how that message got lost in translation. Pokemon was a sensation until around year 2000. Obviously, the franchise is alive and well, but it has died down in the mainstream until the massively popular Pokemon Go in 2016. The phenomenal success of the Pokemon anime led to an increased curiosity and acceptance of anime in the West. Cartoon Network used their Toonami block to air anime shows including Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon, where they finally found their audience and remain popular to this day. After 25 years, Ash finally became a world champion Pokemon trainer, and the anime now follows brand new trainers who have only just begun their journey. Oh yeah, there was a musical based on the show. And that's enough. But did Pokemon completely lose its Japanese voice in order to come to the West? Perhaps not entirely. For one, there's debate if it really had a Japanese voice at all. Associate Professor Amy Shiron Liu suggests that it was intentionally designed to be a more ambiguous fantasy world for internationalization.
Although some dragon-like Pokemons might remind the audiences of certain Western folklore creatures, they are portrayed as Pokemons that do not belong to any specific culture. From the very beginning, Pokemon was intended in part for export.
After all, behind the cute faces, it's still a business. But I find this debate debatable, as there's clear examples of Japanese-specific references in the show. For example, one episode, Ash makes a pun and Pikachu offers a pillow. This is a reference to the long-running Japanese TV game show, Show 10, where contestants win Zabuton cushions for giving funny answers. It's a pop culture reference that doesn't make sense to anyone outside of Japan, and the English version, faced with something untranslatable, had to go in a odd direction instead.
So pacing, not passing. I said panish. I said pacing.
How can Pokemon be always planned for export with readily disposable Japanese elements when its Japanese origins are baked into its very DNA? So maybe despite the
Giant's Ruins was my favorite dungeon so far.
Japanese voice in
Maybe the next labyrinth where we gotta find Karis will be fun too.
Stephanie Strong said,
"The cartoon is steeped in traditional Japanese values: responsibility, empathy, cooperation, obedience, respect for elders, humility, that go far beyond its obvious references to things Japanese. It may sound like the makers of Pokemon approached those themes from Sesame Street, but there is something notably Japanese in the emphasis on team building, lending a helping hand, values that are admired, but not always handsomely rewarded in American society, culture."
All of my Pokemon are my friends. We all work together like a family.
So maybe there's more we can learn from each other. You teach me, and I'll teach you. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all.
Oh yeah, there's a quest here.
Learning from each other is a powerful tool. For example, I learned a ton in Lindsay Ellis's phenomenal videos on John Lennon, No Homo, and the complicated truth behind how the Beatles really broke up and how Yoko's name dragged through the mud as a result. Fascinating stuff. No recommendation for it. And there's only one place you can watch it. So with knowledge is power, I can't think of a more powerful website.
I like how double crop is actually a useful skill in this game now.
I am proud to be part of. They're the sponsor of this video, and they've just had their biggest update ever. The homepage has been updated with categories to discover more creators and videos, including a dedicated Nebula news section. There's also a massive slate of brand new Nebula originals on the way. These are original shows and films made by the creators themselves, with Nebula providing investment in creative freedom unlike anywhere I've seen before. I'm personally really looking forward to Let's Table This, a sketch comedy series from Garrett Comedy's DC Pearson, because we need more sketch comedy shows. This is huge, and it's the perfect time to join up to. When you sign up to Nebula, you not only get access to originals, news, ad-free content, classes, and exclusive content, but you'll be directly supporting me and fellow creators, including many of my favourites: Todd in the Shadows, Philosophy Tube, Innuendo Studios, Game Makers Toolkits, and more. There are monthly or annual plans, but Nebula is offering
I actually get too much stuff.
no installments, no tricks, no gimmicks, just a single one-time upfront fee, and everything I've just mentioned is all yours for as long as you and Nebula both exist. And I love existing. Sign up using my link at nebula.tv/NA, or the link below. You can support me directly and get Nebula for 40% off annual plans, as little over $2.50 a month. Thank you, Nebula, for sponsoring this video. Special thanks to all my patrons, including Beamertecton, Joey Dart, Jason, and
Oh yeah, I never properly fully explored the final floor.
So, Tabu So tell it to John Japanese, Rusty Road, or support me on Patreon like Brett Halpern. And everyone, goodbye.
さーていいぞこっちまですわよしやったいいぞ
Holy shit, 6?
こいつもだよしやったあら
Na 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 na. Dun 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 dun.
しっかりなさいやあ 探してみますわやったこいつもだこっちもですわよしやったいいぞ
Wyvern's back, what fun.
探してみますわこいつもだこっちもですわよしやったいいぞこいつもだ
You know, I should probably just store away all of this, all of the unnecessary stuff I have so I can farm for longer.
Nanjo? 毎度ありじゃあ、また来たな。なんだっけ
As styles of comedy go, spoof movies are arguably the most despised and critically panned, despite it creating many of the all-time greatest movies, like the stool sample of a drug mule, have to sift through a lot of crap before you get to the good stuff. So, where did it all go wrong, and will it ever come back? I've loved spoofs since I was a kid. But what is it? Well, it's like an adult version of me, but much younger. But that's not important right now. Spoof movies are surprisingly hard to define. They're often mixed together with parody movies, which isn't wrong. It takes some kind of predefined piece of media, typically another movie or the tropes of a genre, and then subverts it in some way. Sometimes this is a loving tribute or pastiche, or sometimes it could be critical or satirical, highlighting the faults of a heightened situation with some applied logic.
Who throws a shoe? Honestly.
For example, take WandaVision. It replicates the look and feel of sitcoms from different eras, but with a kind of superhero twist. It's a parody, but it isn't a spoof. But is Shaun of the Dead a spoof? Or the South Park movie? Or The Third Thing, the movie I just made up about how the third thing in the list is always a twist? To me, spoof movies feel different, and where you draw the line is subjective. They operate in some kind of alternate universe where even reality itself bends around whatever is funniest, where even the most basic cause and effect could be subverted in some way. Slapstick, non sequiturs, misdirection, side gags, cartoon physics, innuendo.
You have balls. I like balls.
Meta humor, satire,
Shrewd, sensible, compassionate, scrupulously honest, she has overcome all these handicaps to become President of the United States.
exaggeration, and so on and on and on and on and on. That has a lot of crossover with comedy in general, but I think the biggest difference is that spoof movies carry with them a layer of heightened absurdism, where it constantly toys with your expectations.
That toy so works?
It can remove or lessen any sense of peril, and it can reduce characters into caricatures. On paper, this sounds like this would ruin any movie. Like, who would watch a movie where the plot wasn't important? In 1980, the movie Airplane was a commercial and critical hit, and not because it told a really, really good story. It was the jokes. Jokes delivered by some of the finest performers, such as Lloyd Bridges and, of course, Leslie Nielsen. Oh, but not this guy. I hate this guy. Ugh. Airplane remains one of the most beloved comedies of all time, and it's a full-on spoof. But I wouldn't blame you if I said spoof movie, and your first thought was, oh, I don't know, a baby Shrek vomiting on a Spartan from 300. So, how did we get from here to here? Well, I spent all of last month watching over 60 movies determined to answer the question, why am I wasting my life? But more importantly, what happened to spoof movies? And if at any point you feel like I forgot a particular movie, just know that I left it out on purpose just to upset you personally. Now, let's dissect some frogs.
That is wrong. Where were we?
In 1903, Edwin S. Porter directed The
Okay,
Great
I was gonna
Train
ask,
Robbery. It was a pretty
are random
innovative
encounters
film,
just
but
straight
no one
up disabled
expected
now or
it
something?
would be a remake of his own movie, but starring children instead, called The
Well,
Little Train
shit.
Robbery. It's not exactly packed with laughs. The kids riding on miniature trains is quite endearing, and there's this bit where the actor playing the engineer, who's meant to be knocked unconscious, gets up, smiles at camera, remember is meant to be unconscious, and lays down again. But this film is widely credited as being the very first spoof movie, and one that was made by someone parodying themselves. The 1930s and 40s heralded the era of the talkies, and many of the most famous silent film stars started making parodies, like Buster Keaton, Laurel and Hardy, and of course, Charlie Chaplin. Great Dictator is a political satire released in 1940, during World War II. This was highly controversial as the United States was still technically at peace with Germany at that point. But Chaplin was worried about the growing surge of fascism in the 1930s. Boy, I'm glad that stopped and never happened again, huh? And stated that Hitler must be laughed at. The Great Dictator is a kind of prince and pauper tale where Chaplin plays both Adenoid Hinkle of the fictional country Tomania and the unnamed Jewish barber. This is a long movie, over 2 hours long, and the switcheroo doesn't happen till the last 15 minutes. So instead, the movie ensures an emotional hook of the plight of the Jewish people, whilst portraying the Nazis as cruel, foolish, and disconnected to the real world.
The bulletproof uniform at 100%. Far from perfect.
The physical comedy is hilarious. It has great set pieces that can stand alone as comedy sketches, and of course, the climactic monologue is beautiful and still resonates today as one of the greatest speeches ever recorded. It did me a big cry. The 40s and 50s had several films that would kind of parody itself, Abbott and Costello would meet several Universal movie monsters, and even films like Sunset Boulevard and Singing in the Rain were movies about making movies, so he was becoming increasingly self-conscious, like me about my fake nose. Meanwhile, in the UK, the late 50s saw a movie franchise that would introduce the camp and saucy humour of the British seaside postcard. So keep calm and...
You may not realize that was once a week now. Once a week's enough for any man.
Carry On is a series of 30 movies. No one counts Carry On Columbus, sorry. With a regular cast of performers including Kenneth Williams. It's Britain's second longest running film franchise, with number one being...
I forgot to take out my items.
The popularity of Dr. No in 1962 inspired spy parodies such as Casino Royale, no, not that one, Owlman Flint, Get Smart, and the Carry On team had a swing with Carry On Spy.
Number 00.
Carry On would only occasionally make actual parodies like Spying and Carry On Screaming. It would generally take a broad theme, typically British institutions like the NHS and camping, and then get their innuendos out.
I'm afraid he's got a very small dossier. He's got a very small dossier. Very small dossier.
And even here, James Bond isn't the sole source of humour, as it parodies general spy movie tropes. It has the idiot hero, well-meaning and sometimes capable, but otherwise bumbling and only really succeeds with dumb line. He is the last resort. It has an easy-to-follow mission, and even though people die and get injured, it remains light-hearted and never violent. And it is, of course, very raunchy.
Ooh, don't be a fool. Don't know which side she's on. Oh, I'm not fussy.
But carrying on into the 70s, and the Carry On team weren't the only British comedians making parody movies. So keep calm and... Monty Python. Life of Brian is about a man whose life runs parallel to Jesus Christ. Like The Great Dictator, this too was highly controversial. The mere notion of mocking Christianity resulted in numerous calls from religious groups who never even watched the movie for it to be banned. This famously culminated in a 1979 TV debate, which itself got a Monty Python-style spoof in 2011's Holy Flying Circus. Despite the no one is safe from satire approach, the film really isn't about Christianity. If anything, it has more to say about organised movements than organised religion, as much of the mockery is pointed at how blindly people followed Brian despite his protests.
Back off! How shall we back off, oh Lord?
And how overly bureaucratic the bickering independent movements are.
This calls for immediate restriction.
With the overall message being, think for yourselves.
You're all individuals! Yeah.
Brian is our same man, and it's the world around him that's weird. With the odd non sequitur moment and people doing the totally illogical, like this Roman centurion correcting Brian's Latin graffiti.
Not done by sunrise? I'll cut your balls off.
Despite this lack of logic, usually to infuriate or obstruct the main character, there are many scenes where rational thinking is applied to highlight a flaw.
Alright, apart from the sanitation, the medicine, education, wine, public order, irrigation, road, the freshwater system and public health. What have the Romans ever done?
Much like the Holy Grail before it, it has a story, but it's told in a series of short skits, making the film effectively a collection of sketches strung together with a paper-thin plot. And it is one of the greatest comedies ever made. This runs in stark contrast to Holy Moses, released a year later in an attempt to make the Moses version of Life of Brian, but without any of the subversion, rational thinking, or even jokes. Seriously, this film uses anti-climax as a punchline constantly. Top tip: if your script has a lot of but then nothing happens, maybe don't do that.
I've found through the years that it's less funny to watch characters trying to not do something.
That's interesting.
Than it is to watch them actually doing something.
And now onto something completely different. Mel Brooks is easily the brand father of street comedy, bringing his endearing style of lightheartedness to the silver screen, writing and directing films like The Producers, Blazing Saddles, and a direct spoof of Star Wars entitled Young Frankenstein. It's a pretty faithful retelling of Frankenstein, even directly remaking some scenes. Frederick Frankenstein,
pronounced
Frankenstein.
Sorry, is a descendant who has disowned his family in shame. While an eccentric character, he is still able to be something of an outsider and comment on the weirdness.
Perhaps I could help you with that, huh?
What? But as he gets swept up in following his ancestors' legacy, which abandons the ashamed descendant premise pretty quickly, it removes his ability to deconstruct the tropes and instead just become a participant. We see recurring elements that Brooks will continue in his films, such as breaking the fourth
this
wall
team
and
sucks.
wordplay.
Although I guess that isn't all that surprising.
Slapstick and sign gags such as this brain depository. Bill also loves to toy with juxtaposition, so putting elements in situations opposed to what we'd expect, like put it on the Ritz.
The perfect fit.
This is a slow film. Brooks makes a genuine attempt at replicating the same sense of atmosphere, and it's quite clear that this is a loving tribute of the original classic, which brings me to Spaceballs. This too was a parody that follows much of the main beats of its source of inspiration. In fact, Brooks worked directly with Lucas for the post-production. This wasn't the first Star Wars spoof ever made, that's credited to Hardware Wars.
I must try to find that tractor.
Much of the elements we saw in Young Frankenstein are here too, along with some great misdirection. But there's more pun-based humour, cartoonishness, and juvenile humour.
And I see your torch is as big as mine.
In case she didn't notice, that's a dick joke. There's also a greater emphasis on fourth wall breaking meta humour, now actively stepping into the plot of the movie.
You tattooed their stunt doubles!
Which I have mixed feelings on. For example, there's this gag about merchandising.
Merchandising! Where the real money from the movie is made.
Which then causes Spaceballs merch to pop up throughout the film, which is great because it's commenting on something, the over-commercialization of Star Wars. But moments where it turns off the movie or it hits crew members during a fight, all that says is, get it? You're watching a movie. Which is like being told the same joke over and over and over again.
Oh no. Not again!
This is put to better effect in Robin Hood Men in Tights, and it's generally less invasive. To the story, I mean, and it's kept to more of a wink and a nod.
Unlike some other Robin Hoods, I can speak with an English accent.
Here, the humour is less juvenile and more farcical in nature, with more slapstick, cartoon physics, and yes, pop culture references. I mean, obviously Robin Hood is a pop culture reference of sorts, but this is where they bring another pop culture reference outside of the one you're already referencing. And the joke is...
I gotta go home alone now.
Right. That thing, you know. Get it? And we're going to see a lot more of that, don't you worry. In fact, do worry a lot. Something important to remember about the films of Mel Brooks is how uncynical they are. There's the odd satirical moment, but it's largely just light-hearted silliness. The characters are silly, the villains are silly, the jokes are silly, and none of it comes from any mean-spirited or cruel angle. There are some elements that haven't aged well, sure, but there's a comfort in how harmless it is. They're comfort movies. But now for some comfort food. Anyone up for Kentucky Fried Theater? This is the bit about airplane, by the way.
You know what? I think I'm just gonna stick to this team in the end. I'll try out other teams if I ever decide to do New Game Plus or whatever.
And there was a film made to spoof the disaster movie genre, and it was called The Big Bus. It's a disaster movie, like the Poseidon Adventure, but on a domestic scale. And the intro wants you to know what a silly premise this is.
And now, a movie about the...
I like this bar fight scene and the ongoing jokes, like the character's shoulders constantly fainting. But don't worry, I hardly ever blank out unless we move.
Okay, Dan, let's get moving.
But perhaps in an effort to be satirical, people are framed as selfish and opportunistic, even the overly aggressive lead character. It doesn't really parody the tropes of disaster movies, given that the disaster doesn't happen until towards the end of the film. Instead, taking aim at society. Maybe the Joker was right all along.
Do you mean the Chaos Emeralds?
So along comes a comedy theatre trio, Kentucky Fried Theatre, aka David Zucker, Jerry Zucker, and Jim Abrahams, aka Zaz. And for some reason, they don't like Detroit.
A terrain so rugged, so treacherous. No country will clear.
Worse than Detroit?
Worse than Detroit.
Detroit. And here's Detroit after the attack.
To write their sketches, they'd often record late-night TV and pull material from the commercials and shows they taped. One night they accidentally taped the movie 0 Hour, a disaster movie like The Poseidon Adventure, but on a plane. So they secured the film rights and planned to remake it as a comedy. However, initially no one was interested, so instead the group adapted a selection of their theatre sketches into a movie called Kentucky Fried Movie. It's a movie-length sketch show, and you can see those late-night recordings in action as the sketches are mostly commercials, TV shows, and softcore porn. Some of those airplane-style traits emerge here.
And if you're a Gemini like me, well, you can expect the unexpected. I'm Joyce Wilson. You're asking.
Such as this sequence with the roving boom mic.
You've done extensive work with the great white shark. And who fucked this idea of distinct territories?
There's a lot of unrestrained, edgy comedy, like a white guy yelling the N-words to a group of black men. So this movie has not aged well, and without the basic skeleton structure plot, the pacing drags. This is why I think Airplane works so well. The pre-existing script and the ongoing peril keeps the plot driving forward, which ring-fences
more defensive.
they do best.
Healthy.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector?
What does Airplane do differently? Layers of gags. So whilst the action is focused on one element, there's something else happening, like in the background or with voiceover.
There's just no stopping in a white zone.
Oh, really, Vernon? Quite the tip. We both know perfectly well what you're talking about. You want me to have an abortion.
Sight gags, where the comedy doesn't need dialogue to sell the punchline, almost like a optical illusion. Airplane 2, which will only get one mention in this whole video, has precisely one good joke in the whole film, and it's a sight gag. Casting serious actors. Instead of hiring a group of comedians, they purposely hired actors who have never done comedy before. This added one of Airplane's key ingredients, deadpan.
How soon can you land? I can't tell. But can't you take a guess? Well, not for another 2 hours. You can't take a guess for another 2 hours?
Given there's always something weird going on, having the characters treat this as normal adds to the absurdity and delivers some of the most iconic dialogue.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Use of double meaning. It's like a double entendre, but without the sexy bits. It's a form of pun, and thanks to their snappiness and beautiful simplicity, it remains super quotable today.
To have 2 weapons.
Yes.
First time.
No, I've been nervous lots of times.
And also there is neither the idiot hero nor the last sane man. No one person stands out and goes, huh, well that was weird. This time, everything is absurd, and no one is safe. There's elements carried over from Kentucky Fried Movie, like the name Rex Kramer, this time without the N-word. Even the numerous flashback sequences play out like sketches from Kentucky Fried Movie. It has all the other spoof elements, but also brings dark humor, which manages to be edgy without resorting to gross out.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
For Leslie Nielsen, who performed in movies like The Poseidon Adventure, this was a role that forever changed him into a comedy actor and would redefine the rest of his career.
Fine, he'll be slower, but
TV series made to spoof police dramas, much like how Mel Brooks' Get Smart spoofed spy dramas. As with Airplane, Zaz lifted much of the source material, this time from TV crime dramas like M Squad. Police Squad is amazing, employing all the tricks from Airplane, but this time with things they can only do on TV, like title cards, recurring characters, and a title sequence with a guest star who doesn't appear in the episode and immediately dies. Also start doing these establishing hands at any location where they'll pack in even more side gags. It allows for the episodes to be textured with jokes without interfering with the plot or the pace. The series introduces Leslie Nielsen's best-known character, police detective Frank Drebin.
What are you doing? How did you get in here?
I'm a locksmith.
And once again, this is all played incredibly deadpan.
Married, 1 child. That didn't work out, so we married a grown woman.
But sadly, it was cancelled after just 6 episodes because Get this, you had to watch it chronologically to appreciate it, which, as we know, no TV ever does that. Well, apart from soap operas, reality shows, documentaries, period dramas, high fantasy, horror, romance, sci-fi, sports, crime. So they moved on to another movie, Top Secret, a kind of Elvis Presley spoof mixed together with a World War II spoof. It had some incredible gags. But in an effort to force these two different movies together, the plot breaks up the fun too often and causes the whole unstructured thing to drag and bomb in the box office. After directing Ruthless People, Zaz, along with frequent collaborator Pat Proft, reunited with Leslie Nielsen to pull an old cop out of early retirement with an iconic siren. The Naked Gun trilogy acts as a kind of reboot for Police Squad, repeating some of the old jokes, whilst reinventing Frank Drebin himself. You see, in the TV series, Frank is way more serious. Even whilst the world is weird, he played the part completely straight.
We're sorry to bother you at a time like this, Mrs. Twice. We would have come earlier. Your husband wasn't dead then.
But in the Naked Gun series, he's changed to a more clumsy, Mr. Bean-esque character. In other words, the idiot hero. Further even more characters become idiots.
Look at this. Comet in the wastebasket. Hey, that's a pretty nice clock. Wonder why they threw it out.
But it started with Frank. It's still played largely deadpan.
Wilma, I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man in this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat. Yeah,
but instead of everyone being caught up in this absurdist world, it's now like everyone is mostly grounded, but Frank is the spoof element. So he generates moments of outrage or big reactions from his elaborate, improbable situations.
Well, when I see 5 weirdos dressed in togas stabbing a guy in the middle of the park in full view of 100 people, I shoot the bastards. That's my policy.
That was a Shakespeare in the Park production of Julius Caesar, you moron.
Now that Frank is an idiot, we get more idiocy. Like clumsiness. Taking things literally.
With a mustache about 6'3".
Probably a big mustache.
It's also a change now in how sex scenes are done in spoofs.
Nice beaver.
Thank you. I just had it stuffed.
Let me help you with that.
Gone are the scenes of full frontal nudity, replaced instead with more PG-friendly scenes that turn titillation into this. The third film has its moments, which is a shallow sentiment I can say about literally every spoof movie, but it's easily the weakest of the batch, and an early sign that the genre is starting to wane. In an almost desperate attempt to keep the genre going past its prime, there's a bigger reliance on easy shots and low-hanging fruit like a lot of pop culture references. And problematic stuff like the big transphobic twist, where Anna Nicole Smith's character strips off for Frank to reveal a penis, and he runs away to go vomit. Yeah, we'll get back to that later. Despite this, the Naked Gun series is the comedy renaissance of Leslie Nielsen at its absolute peak, and would come to define the kind of character he would continue to play for much of his career.
Get him in the car. All right, people, get him in the car.
Spoof movies operate as a kind of response. So the 60s had spy movies and the 70s had disaster movies. So for the other spoof movies of the 90s, it was time to turn to the defining genre of the 80s. And I don't mean jazzercise. Another word for spoof is lampoon. However, National Lampoon didn't make spoofs all that much, sticking mainly to raunchy comedies like Animal House, The Vacation series, and Van Wilder. They did dabble with a Lethal Weapon parody called Loaded Weapon 1.
Give me a name. Weren't your parents supposed to do that?
A bold assumption there, much like Doug's first movie. The problem is, compared to the stuffy spy and disaster movies, action movies like Lethal Weapon are already very self-aware, so this didn't really offer anything new.
How am I supposed to know what mine figured out?
Taxi! Perhaps in an attempt to address this, Last Action Hero is an Arnie movie set within an Arnie movie, which uses a regular kid who is pulled into the cinema screen to point out the illogical nature of action movie tropes.
I have to different clothes. What everyone finds this a little convenient?
Hey, kid, you always said this is a movie, didn't you?
Much like how Galaxy Quest has actors from a TV show forced to live the real thing, which in turn addresses the tropes of Star Trek and sci-fi as a whole.
It's so purpose for there to be a bunch of shoppy, trashy things in the middle of all.
Let's show the television!
These aren't really spoofs, more like meta-contextualization, a way to have an outsider address the tropes of a genre, but still with some real-world grounding, much like how a mockumentary like Spinal Tap uses an outsider influence of a camera crew to highlight the absurdity. A parody for sure, not technically a spoof. And if you want to fight me on this, then please don't, because I'm very weak. In 1991, Zaz members Abrahams and Croft created Hot Shots, starring Charlie Sheen. It's a parody mostly of Top Gun, and it is an excellent spoof.
Don't look.
It runs with the cartoonish elements and slapstick, but remains delicately balanced by actually telling the plot. This ensures that one side doesn't outweigh the other, and the performances being kept straight and deadpan really allow the comedy to stick the landing.
Behaving like children.
He's being a jerk. A nut are 2 times 10.
The exception to this is Admiral Benson.
No, thank you.
He remains the out-and-out oddball with his slapstick and exaggerated war injuries.
From the Pentagon, sir. We just decoded it. Oh, good. Here, help me with this. My eyes are ceramic. A bazooka round, a little bit more.
But because the weirdness is mostly kept to one secondary character, and with Lloyd Bridges' excellent comedy performance, it never outstays its welcome.
Oh, wait. Well, thank you. Having us over to dinner the other night. Cheryl and I thought the stroganoff was marvelous. Sir, we didn't have dinner the other night. Really? Well, who's this Cheryl?
This was followed up with Hot Shots Part 2, this time focusing on Rambo. While it still has a ton of fun moments, there is a noticeable tonal shift to more goofy, more crass, and even more pop culture references. The first film had pop culture references too, but they were mainly limited to montages. This time it's just a lot of stuff happening because it's something you've heard of before and that's it. It does offer more of a commentary on action movies.
Or, it's fantastic.
But when the villain is a clumsy, domesticated Saddam Hussein with a lisp, the balance is off.
Fuck attack.
The last spoof to really explode in the late 90s was Austin Powers.
I don't even know what this is. This sort of thing ain't my bag, baby. One book, Swedish-made Venus in larger pumps and me. This sort of thing is my bag, baby.
You could argue this is meta-contextual, as the story of a man from the 60s brought to the 90s would be a fish out of water, but everyone is still a bit silly, so not really. Have some great physical comedy and double entendres.
Yes, Basil. Nice rack.
But now we're seeing an increase in cringe comedy in spoofs. Given the increase in self-awareness in and of films, like action movies, it would make sense that cringe would awkwardly arise to embarrass our empathy. Because we're so gosh darn aware of things. Tropes are still being challenged, like Dr. Evil's son pointing out the flaw in every Bond villain's plan.
Wait, aren't you even going to watch them? They could get away. No. I'm going to leave them alone and not actually witness them dying. I'm just going to assume it all went to plan. What?
And Elizabeth responded to Austin's outdated free love attitude.
Did you use protection?
Of course. I have a 9mm automatic.
In fact, despite Austin being such a sex-driven character, I'm pleased to see that he refuses to take advantage of a drunken Elizabeth without question. It may be just basic human decency, but it shows that this character isn't just a two-dimensional character. After all these movies, it's nice to see one that has actually aged well. But it was clear. These movies were a dying breed. A corpse stuck to rot. And the only way to bring spoof movies back to life was to do something scary. Let's go. directed I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, Keenan Ivory Wayans created the 90s TV series In Living Color, a sketch comedy show to rival SNL. It would launch the careers of performers like Jim Carrey and Jamie Foxx, and included many of his family members, including his brothers, Marlon and Sean. It was hugely popular, but due to the network's censorship and creative control, Keenan and his siblings would leave the show throughout the third and fourth seasons. So the Wayans turned their attention back to movies
I
and
want
made
this. How do I get Carapace?
to South Central whilst drinking your juice in the hood. God, it sounds so white. Written and starring Marlon and Sean Wayans, it's a classic spoof in nature but much darker in tone. Much of the comedy goes for big reactions like shock, violence and gross out. Probably as a result of trying to mash up many movies together, not a lot really happens. It feels more like a series of slice-of-life moments.
Should I wear this Tech 9 high top, or should I wear this Uzi with my low top?
There's one particularly good scene where they go to a store and are accused of shoplifting by the Asian store owners, all the while there is a white guy blatantly stealing everything.
You dropped something.
But the high ground is lost with a sucky $5 joke.
How much for this candy for? $5. What? Give me some sucky with that $5.
So a mixed bag overall. Don't Be a Menace came out in 1996, the same year as the slasher movie Scream. Scream briefly revived the slasher genre with its subversive meta take. It's pretty much a parody of horror while still being a horror, much like how Deadpool is both a superhero movie and a superhero parody.
Superhero landing! Yeah, that's really hard on your knees. Totally impractical, I'll do it.
Scream was huge, so Sean and Marlon set out to create a spoof directed by Keenan called Scary Movie. This was a smash hit at the box office, and it's clear to see why. Following the footsteps of American Pie's revival of the raunchy sex comedy, Scary Movie is loud, wild, and very, very crude.
Cool.
It's probably the most impactful spoof movie since Airplane because it radically alters the genre for a teenage audience, meaning more sex, more drugs, and it reinvents traditional spoof elements like misdirection.
Hey, yo, dog. Are you sure to make me look gay? No. What about now?
But the inherent problem with making a spoof about Scream is, like action movies before it, Scream itself was already very subversive.
It's like I've seen this all before.
Did you kill it in your old high school, shorty?
No, it was in this movie Scream. Same dialogue and everything. This is it.
If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th came out the same year with the exact same premise, but at least tried to acknowledge the rules of spoof, much like how Scream does with horror.
There are certain rules you have to follow in a parody situation if you want to survive, okay? Number 1, exaggerate everything. Number 88, accept the ridiculous is logical.
Scary Movie does poke fun at the horror tropes as well.
Reporting live for Black TV. White folks are dead. We're getting the fuck out of here.
Something that's already a parody generally results in the humour aiming much lower. It is cruel and sadistic, and the characters are reprehensible, which isn't unexpected in a slasher movie. Those kids are gonna die. The most mean-spirited part is the portrayal of the disabled special officer, Doofy, the stand-in for Scream's Dewey, portrayed like this.
I got Poopy. Let's get.
Look, I loved Scary Movie when I saw it in the cinema 20 years ago, and there's still much that holds up.
Let me just say, the killing of these teenagers has been tragic, but, hey, you know, shit happens.
The Wayans have never been beholden to political correctness, much like their wheelchair-bound character in Don't Be a Menace, but the relentless cruelty aimed at Doofy just feels like such a cheap shot, especially compared to the more cutting satire of Don't Be a Menace.
Catch.
This is why I much prefer Scary Movie 2.
You shut the fuck up and let me sing?
After Scary Movie's massive success, Miramax greenlit a sequel to come out the following year, leaving the Wayans with 9 months to make the whole thing. This grueling process impacted the film's story, turning it into a kind of hodgepodge of various horror film influences held together by a string of jokes, like a series of moments.
She won't eat, she won't talk, the child won't even let me touch her.
Sometimes you have to give them candy.
And while it's not perfect, given what the Wayans do when they actually have more time, the this is a marked improvement. Because they had no time for bigger set pieces, they had to fill the blanks in the script with more pop culture references.
You are the weakest place. Goodbye.
Like they redid the "What's Up" Budweiser advert in the first film, which at least fit into the Ghostface.
Why would you do that? That hurt.
But this time it's just an out-of-nowhere remake of that Nike basketball advert. Remember that? But this aside, because it was more gag-focused, this got bigger laughs out of me than the first one.
Are you boys just gonna sit there with your mouths open, or is someone gonna offer me a seat?
Scary Movie was the shot of adrenaline the spoof genre desperately needed. So, what happened next? Despite turning around a hugely successful sequel within a year, when the Wayans asked for more money, once again, their creation was taken away from them. Scary Movie would continue to produce progressively worse sequels, but now with some of the Zaz team. While the sequels cast spoof movie veterans Charlie Sheen and Leslie Nielsen, they continually tried to force multiple film plots together.
Since I don't have Carice,
but there's no subversion to it.
Carice doesn't show up in 4-2 anyway.
Noise, and without the Wayans' touch, it's completely toothless. As for the Wayans, they would continue, but now more on their own terms.
Of the 50,000 people that call themselves actors, there's only 500 working actors. Of that 500, most of them are white. There are few roles for black, but those roles are usually for the Wayans brothers.
A Scary Movie co-writers Bill Bowman and Buddy Johnson would also co-write Not Another Teen Movie, a spoof that targets the tired tropes of high school romance movies while still being a gross-out sex comedy. Also, Chris Evans. Marvelous. Marlon Wayans would go solo and make A Haunted House in 2013. And you know what? I like this movie a lot.
Would it be great if we all spent the night?
Well, that's an interesting idea. What do you think of that, Malcolm? Naked sleepover? No. It's weird. Oh, yeah, but it's definitely going to be weird. But are you saying weird good or weird bad?
It's naturally a paranormal activity spoof, but it uniquely dedicates a lot of time allowing us to get to know these characters, now in a kind of hidden camera meets mockumentary kind of way. Marlon's usual cartoonish performance is reined in and saved for the bigger reactions.
It's not a zombie, it's a ghost.
But this allows us to become endeared to this sweet couple who feel like they have an actual dynamic.
Nobody's gonna hurt y'all while I watch. Okay? Unless a nigga got a gun. Then you on your own.
It has its problem areas, sure, but what I'm seeing here is a huge growth from the Scary Movie days. A more recent Marlon Wayans spoof, 50 Shades of Black, sadly reverts back to the low-hanging fruit of early Wayans movies, but given that he's one of the few still actually trying, there's hope for the genre.
Jeez.
Fun fact, if you look at who wrote Scary Movie 1, they also see the names Friedberg and Seltzer on there. They get both credit because they had also written a Scream spoof, and their script got bought just so that it could be permanently shelved. But now their names are attached to a movie they did not write and had nothing to do with. What a fun fact! So now you may be wondering, who are Friedberg and Seltzer? Oh god!
There's no nice way to say this, so I'll just say it. Writers/directors Friedberg and Seltzer are a scourge. They're a plague on our cinematic landscape, a national shame, danger to our culture, a typhoon-sized natural disaster disguised as a filmmaking team. A Hollywood monster wreaking havoc in the minds of America's youth.
Black Wave and the Farmer's thingy for naturally regaining TP are the two easiest ways to recover TP and have infinite uptime.
Instructional videos starting with
well, the farmer thingy is only for outside battle, but
between a $1 ball and a $3 ball.
That's still very good, I'd say.
This was directed by
anyway, I'm gonna go bring in someone with a...
presented a script to Leslie Nielsen that his son had written. And so, in 1996, Jason Friedberg and his creative partner, Aaron Seltzer, got their first movie credit.
I can get...
Spy Hard. Directed by Daddy Friedberg, this almost feels like a spoof of a spoof, in that it has all the style with none of the substance. For example, here's a joke from Airplane.
What has to be got to a hospital?
Hospital? What is it?
It's a big bill with patients. That's not important right now.
And here is the exact same joke in Spy Hard.
I hate to disturb you, but we're picking up something very interesting on the compound infrared detection system.
Well, what? Oh, this really needs security system, sir. It picks up the body.
And they do this twice.
Sir, we've intercepted a very disturbing satellite transmission from our listening post on the Rock of Gibraltar.
Well, what is it?
It's this really big rock sticking out of the water there on the south coast of Spain.
It's like they're copying without understanding why.
Oh yeah, I should also get
They
material
also
for
sporadic throwing
Amrita.
one-liners that aren't jokes.
See you back in the half hour. Jump up and duck the car.
You know, I'm not sure they know how to tell a joke. For example, during this nightclub scene, which becomes a Pulp Fiction reference for no reason, there's this guy caught in the crossfire. And then he's hit again later with a crossbow bolt. Or is that a sword? Anyway, later, during this nun scene, which also becomes a Sister Act reference for no reason, the nun throws a scalpel which hits him. All the three, well done. Except, the scene actually has the guy turn up before the punchline, which ruins the punchline. So instead of the basic joke format of set up, beat, punchline, it's now set up, punchline, beat, punchline. It's like they're trying to idiot-proof the film by showing you what the punchline will be before they finish telling the joke. They do this all the time.
I'm
so
What the hell?
おー、お主たちか。よく来たの。何にするのじゃ？
Tranquilized gel.
Leslie Nielsen does his best with the material provided, but Spineheart's only saving grace is Weird Al's theme song. For the next movie, Jason Freeberg and Aaron Seltzer would take the director's chair. Their debut movie was 2006's Date Movie. This is a deeply sadistic film and says that an overweight Alison Hannigan is undeserving of love and hideously disgusting to everyone around her until she gets all the fat drained out of her like they're overhauling a car. They try to add that she's disgusting because she has bad feet or a hairy back, but it's clearly the cellulite and fat that these people are reacting to. And this is within the first 15 minutes of the film. What happens in the rest of the film? Nothing. In one word, this movie is shallow. There's a rise in pop culture references that do nothing other than the equivalent of dangling shiny keys in front of a child.
Is it too late to crash the funk your daughter with?
There's scenes that drag out forever and don't go anywhere. And characters with no personality who object. Oh, wait. Is this actual character growth?
This isn't what you want. This is what I want. What was wrong about that? It's a good man. He even likes you when you were butt up.
Oh well, they fucked it. It was at this point, any remaining shits were never given again. Epic Movie is the forced amalgamation of multiple movies rammed together like some kind of Hollywood monster. And when it's not a pointless pop culture reference, it's gross out. I don't mind the around here. For example, my all-time favourite Newgrounds animation is two butts fighting. Butts. But this isn't some low-budget internet video. This is a multi-million-dollar movie. You could see this as a time capsule of the state of pop culture in 2007. But it has nothing to say about pop culture. Nothing about the religious undertones of Narnia, nothing about the popularization of conspiracy theories by the Da Vinci Code, nothing about the abundance of adaptations or remakes, just
cute
what if Harry Potter was a pervert? Meet the Spartans is a 300 spoof, or a 300 rip-off as they call it.
No, Harry Knowles at Ain't says this movie is just a cheap rip-off of 300.
Which doesn't make sense, it's a spoof. Anyway. It pulls back on forcing different movie plots together, but still finds ways to force references in anyway.
It's a rare drop.
Like, for no reason, Carmen Electra turns into Venom Spider-Man and fights this guy who's like Sandman now. And there's incessant cruelty aimed at female celebrities. like they attack Lindsay Lohan for no reason. Paris Hilton stands in for the deformed outcast.
Killed while asleep.
Gets kicked down
Oh
a
my
hole.
god, why?
You know, a woman having divorced her husband, lost custody of her children, entering drug rehab, having a public breakdown, deserves to be taken down a peg or two. Get fucked, Britney. Oh, and Leave Britney Alone is also referenced. It just plays on the Transformers.
最近冷たくない？いらっしゃい。
Chest. For no reason. Oh, and of course, not pop culture is drops out. That's not quite.
どうぞ。
I can see being friends with as far as the second was fun. Number one, it's disaster. It was sitting but never made and cute. And I just don't see how any disaster. That's it's pretty bad. Disaster and start to get somehow less and they get moves of just walking, say something, and then putting popular like the film see it 10 minutes twice. But it came out in 2008, so love is probably quality, not quality, is down. It's just stuff. Noisy stuff. Sure, come. Red is here. Batman is here. They'll never white leaders. That's all the time. It's just balls and balls and balls and nothing happens. She keeps talking, it goes nowhere, and it's just stuff. Stuff. What's that? Anyway, style. Why? It's largely distinct gratification and and they know like our big like angel is to make the world. This pretty now this I am these movies were my very ideas and now what else? When I say fun, she not wild, that's just that. She didn't know about it. John, he learned himself into a monk. Late 2000s, early 2010s, in tough times, cinemas, there were successes like this success is scary franchise and following that by a son. What's the family? No one mentioned. So it seemed like studios wanted to make something. And things didn't really care all that much, except to sort of to cinemas, DVD, video. Do they want to do it? It doesn't want to. I'm sure by a section of it. Films tend to those about such as Eat, Catwoman, various references of they sound like another themselves to you. That's because they also made this could have had potential. Like a whole studio opportunity to analyze the state of response. We let themselves out section. Like
I'm racist. I got like a black guy. I mean, that's a quarterback, obviously, that's taking advantage of the position. Seriously.
This fits should be apparent characters for Jewish student team and as their requirement. The other case, like trees who eat to defend to one people emerging not from Sarah Marshall. Now, finally, the cutting deconstruction of the albums. I don't think we're more subverting some. The English version tends to aim much lower, like screaming tearing at me. But subverting equals to the class less strong.
気をつけるんだよ。
お主たちか。冷やかしを何にするのじゃ。
Sure. Just like that one. No one is allowed to say all that. Subversion or very.
What 何にするのじゃ。何にするのじゃ。
Boy, that shit up. Like, oh, it's no place to that's. Do you know that design? Good. Great scene. Just about chicken.
Companies are being seen having a ship.
Do I have anyone using spears?
Now, I don't think they would necessarily just take the majority of the reference. Very jokes. Temptation is there.
何にするのじゃ毎度ありじゃ
Sorry. Is and start train to local suicide forest or state action. So this is a we have four down on boundary line of the reason that instead of subtle scream, instead of what? Beams. And instead of ripped, it goes for very nice. Alright. No, this somehow us and which means he's not there to point at cause, neither is he. So, episode 4 is going to stop by sit.
Fierceness hallway has increased enemies encounter rate.
Escape window. Watch. No. Oh, I think so. It's and exchange is ever. Which is alright.
へへ、楽勝は。
take this food and it's around. So, it's not one. Well, I had not they shouldn't be afraid of taking shots. Just be considerate of their whichever route might be designed makes it every future is not like that. Positive, strong, ambition, restriction, right? Figure out the same whole in the box to the whole. Is that the shape of the structure, right? Yes, it was one. Now, B12, that's step. This video makes one of the main characters.
やっと最後ね。やっと最後ね。余裕の勝利ね。
Where are the crabs? Alright, one more encounter. Then I'm gonna give up. And I'm also not gonna buy any
いらっしゃい。どうぞ。いってらっしゃい。
おお、お主たち何を売るのじゃ？何を売るのじゃ？さてさて、何にするのじゃ？何にするのじゃ？ 何にするのじゃ？
I couldn't even get the 4th Carapace piece.
何を売るの？さてさて、銭を貯めたらまた来るのだぞ。そろそろ来ると思ってたぞ。朝までお休みだね。決まった。気をつけていくんだぞ。お主たちか。冷やかしは許さぬぞ。 何にするのじゃ?
Fuck it, I'm just buying. This. Not like we need any more TP, I guess.
装備を変えるのかや? 何にするのじゃ? なんじゃ?装備を変えるのかや? 家事をするんじゃな。
Dang.
てさて毎度ありじゃ。そろそろ来ると思ってたぞ。任せとけ。気をつけていくんだぞ。
おや、君たち。どうするのかな。どれにすっか決まったかな。
What the hell?
どうするのかな。最近冷たくない？
あ、また来た。任せとけ。
Right, now that I'm done being indecisive once again, next episode we'll actually be doing some dungeon crawling. But for now, I need to sleep.